Hi. Things have been different lately. You remember when I made that YouTube dating video, which by the way is to date probably my favorite video I've ever made. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Anyway, it talks about how I'd gotten a lot of questions about dating and what that looked like for me living in a car. And to nutshell my own perspective, which was different from other people's in that YouTube video, it was hard for me to speak to how it altered my life at all, particularly because I hadn't been in a serious formal relationship while living in my car. And in case you missed some subtle nuances of my social medias, that's different now. I have been in a relationship over the last year, which is kind of weird timing, by the way, because I've also had this van for the last year. So it was started right at the same time where I was transitioning from my car to this van, and yeah, at the same time I was transitioning from being pretty much utterly single the entire time I was living in my car to now sorting out living in a new vehicle, which was already a thing. That was already a challenge because this was an empty, frankly miserable space, and also dating somebody. And that's been funky, and it's changed over time. And lately what it's been looking like is me being in my van a lot less. I came across some photos looking back through stuff in my Google Photos the other day where I was in this van back when it was empty and miserable, and I realized that I regret not capturing that more. I have like a few videos of a day in my life when, once it came along a little bit more, I still didn't have a bed and things like that, so it was still challenging, but I never captured what it was like to live in a windowless van. In the summer, there was a partition in the front, in case you missed that chapter, so I had to get out of my van and get in this sliding door and close the door to blackness and heat, and it just nothing. No bed, no nothing in here. Just a pile of my belongings. Anyway, and I was looking back at those photos and remembering what that was like and regretting not capturing that. And I think I subconsciously made that decision because I thought that it was just too miserable and sad and shameful to share, which might surprise some people because I do share a lot. It's also come to my attention that I've really put myself out there on the internet. Like a lot of my personal life is exposed, which is just how I am. So I didn't really realize that until recently either. But the point is that I regret not sharing that because that was my reality, and it was a struggle, and that's okay. And I think it's nice to share the struggling moments. If anything, I think I enjoy sharing those times, difficulties, whether it's like heartache, moving to my car, moving into a windowless, empty van. I think it fulfills me the most to share those moments. So looking back, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I didn't do that. Like, what an opportunity to have done exactly that. But for some reason, that particular hardship just felt too shameful to share, I guess. And I regret that. I regret that just for myself. I think that would have been really good for me to get out, to express. And also, we all know that social media can like make lives look more glamorous and more happy. Mine doesn't. I think we all know. Especially my YouTube. Like, my YouTube tends to be the space where I cry and show my struggles. But still, social media as a whole tends to be that kind of space just naturally. Like, we're not taking photos of ourselves crying. We're taking photos of ourselves smiling. Like, that's normal. But that does put in people's minds that lives are more grand and more joyful than they truly are, including my own. I'm sure I'm affected by that. And it'd be nice to put more of the darker truths out. So anyway, I regret not sharing that. It wasn't really an active decision that I made. Yeah, looking back, I think that was just something that happened subconsciously and in an avoidant type of fashion, which is kind of funny because that's really not my style. Really take things head on when it comes to sorrow. Or maybe I don't, whatever. Anyway, so I had that realization a few days ago, and then I thought about today and how I have been doing kind of a similar thing about my life today. So for the last 3 months, I have hardly been in this space. And I didn't think that would continue. I thought it was like a short phase kind of thing, and then I would find my way back into balancing my life here and elsewhere. But it's continued to the point where I'm now like, okay, I wasn't trying to hide my reality. I think if anything, I was attempting to show my reality more, because if anybody ever sees me inside of a building, they immediately jump to oh, she's a fraud, or I bet she spends most of her time there. Basically, it all boils down to being a fraud, being a liar. I learned from the beginning of all of this social media stuff going viral to hide when I'm indoors. Even when it's I'd be at work, I wouldn't want to capture those moments because people would really jump on me and be like, oh, she's indoors. I'm not allowed to step inside of buildings just because I live in a vehicle, you know? Of course, I still was going to work back when I had a traditional job. I still go to friends' houses, partners' houses. I go out to eat. I still step foot in buildings, but people have really come at me for seeing a regular roof over my head. That was difficult for me to receive. And so I just started to learn to not show when I'm inside of buildings, which is maybe it sounds silly to some people, but when you've got, no exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of people coming at you with a really vile attitude, it tends to have an effect. Anyway, that's played a role in today too. That hasn't stopped. I've felt like people can't know when I'm inside of buildings. Having that whole realization a few days ago about wishing I shared my reality in my empty van and how much it sucked, I was like, oh, wait, I'm sort of making the same, I don't want to call it a mistake, but for lack of a better term right now, mistake, today, in not showing today's reality, which is a valid, it's fine, it's okay. It's difficult right now for me, now that I've found a home base and I'm working on watering it and tending to my relationships and gaining relationships here. It's hard for me to balance the life that I lead that I feel like this van represents, which is nomadic and solo and adventurous and outdoorsy, and that's very much me. But now I also have this other part of my life with my partner and what? I don't know. It feels like there's more to that. Our lives together, how they come together, how we spend time together, who we spend time with, the things we go do. And also now more recently, I have earned myself some valuable close friendships that I'm excited about growing. So I feel like my life is very compartmentalized into very different categories. Well, particularly two. Yeah, and I guess if I made that dating video that I made a year and a half ago today, it'd look very different. Being in a formal relationship with someone who doesn't also live in a vehicle it's difficult to balance those two parts of my lives, this and them. I've been gone a lot. I'm out of town half the time, which I'm sure is difficult for my partner. It would be difficult for me if the roles were swapped. So I'm trying to kind of reel it back in, not just for my relationship with him, but also with these new friends and just learning the area that I now am based out of. And it's really difficult for me to be in town and not be at his place, because naturally, I go away on a trip, I come back, and the first thing both of us want to do is spend some time together. So I go to his place, we hang out, I stay the night, and then the next morning there's this sort of passive way that his life, or our lives together rather, take over my own little solo life. So instead of like going to my van in the morning, driving to the gym to shower, figuring out food, you know, filling up my water tank, all those things, instead of doing all that, I'm already at his place. So it's kind of like, well, why not just shower here real quick? So I shower, get that over with, rather than spending the gas money and the time to go to a gym. And then it's like, well, why deal with like using up my limited water and my more limited supplies in this van when I could just cook breakfast in his kitchen? And one step at a time, the day ends up looking like me not leaving his home. And then I'm like, all right, well, tomorrow. And then it happens again and again and again until weeks pass, and now a few months have passed, and I'm like, oh, hold on, is this what my life looks like now? Like, this wasn't planned. I don't actively decide on this, but it's happening. Yeah, it's not like an intentional, active decision. It's more like this passive thing that I allow to occur. To be honest, I prefer for that not to occur. I prefer for it to be separate, for me to leave the next day and live my life. But honestly, that's, in a strange way, that's very difficult to describe. That is more challenging than it sounds. Because also when I stay at anybody's place, I like micro move in, because I'm bringing in my toiletries to accomplish that shower. I'm bringing in some clothes to change into. Like, inevitably some things come inside to their home with me. So like doing that over and over again is exhausting. And of course I would, with my partner, I would continue to see him and spend some nights with him. It gets exhausting to like bring my shit into his home and bring it back out and like put it back in the places it belongs in here, and then grab things again the next time and bring it in, and back and forth. Yeah, it's it's just not encouraging for me to do that. That's frustrating. And to add to that, I also have been having different things come up with the van that also encourage me to spend another day at his place. My electricity's been out. Don't ask. I don't know for sure, and that's a different thing to dive into. Just general construction of my van, where things will be like a crazy mess because I'm building, and I'm building until sunset. I'm building out of his backyard. So it's like, well, I'm already here. Why spend a stressful hour packing up the construction zone that I've made to go to sleep, just to unpack it all and get back into building again tomorrow, when I can just go right inside and go to sleep, you know? In hindsight, I realize my thoughts, my subconscious thoughts, were to hide that from people because of everything I've explained, right? I've even had friends that have made jabs at me, friends who I was not close to, so they didn't see my day-to-day life. I would, see them like a couple times a year. I had some of those friends make the same accusations to me. It's not like it was even just strangers on the internet. Of course that's gonna happen because the culture on the internet is freaking gross. But it was also people I knew. Acquaintances of mine and friends, or my friend's boyfriend or something. I've had those people accuse me of being a fraud, kind of subtly, in person, where I just am like, wow, what the fuck? Like, no, I really did live in my car. I mean, I don't even know how you can really question that, because there was a lot of times where I wasn't anywhere near my friends. Like, I was traveling around the country. Of course I was sleeping in my car. I have footage of it. Like, it's just so... And that just did a number on me, where I have felt like if there ever is a time where I don't stay in my vehicle, which, just like every average human, you don't spend every single day of your life, every single night in your home. I don't spend every single night here. And now that I haven't been spending hardly any nights in here, it's just been this subconscious, like, don't tell anybody, because you've seen what can happen. Like, people expect that of you and they like hate you for it if that happens. It's so funny how things like that can really affect somebody, and they've affected me, because it took me like sitting down and thinking about all of this yesterday for me to come to a place which is so obvious, which is that, oh, it's okay. It's fine that like, this is my van, I live in here, but I've been crashing somewhere else. If anybody has a problem with that, they have a problem with themselves. Like, that's not an issue with me. Why would there be any issue with this? It's my own life. The only people that can speak to whether it's a problem or not is myself and my partner, and it's not a problem for either one of us. So why am I like, of course it's okay. Of course it's fine that I live in a vehicle, but I haven't been spending time in it lately. Anyway, I don't there's probably plenty of you that are like, duh, Nikita, like, of course, whatever. You have a partner now, it makes sense that you live in a vehicle and you would be at their place. Like, that, of course. You'd be surprised about what some people have to say about that. And I guess I'm realizing that I'm surprised about how much that's affected me. I'm gonna have to make a different video about what going viral was like, because that's had a larger effect on me in ways that I never would have imagined. I never could have guessed that I would have gone viral in the first place. But let me tell you, at least for me, it was so different than I would have imagined. The whole experience has just changed me in ways that I just could not. It's bizarre. Like this. Like, where I will maybe have something that I want to share on my Instagram story, let's say, and I won't film it because I'm in his home. I don't feel like going outside in my like 95-degree van or having to alter what I'm doing for the sake of an Instagram story. So I just won't share something because I'm like, oh, I can't do that while I'm inside of a house. People are gonna start like rioting about it. And again, it's just so funny because part of me is like, that's so silly. And it is. It is. But another part of me is like, it's not silly at all. You've seen how some people behave about this, and it's vile and ugly, and I don't want that, and that's valid. So it's this weird kind of dichotomy of feelings about it that I didn't realize until really recently, again, the last few days, that it was something that I needed to sit with, think about, digest, decide what I want to do with my feelings and thoughts about it. And I came to realize, like, just like my empty, miserable van, it was okay that that's what my life looked like. That was my reality, and I like to share that. Likewise, it's okay that this is now my reality today anyway. It could change next month, and that's okay. And I want to share that. I want to share that, yes, in case you were curious, it is kind of difficult to date somebody and live in a vehicle. Anyway, that's the unexpected, unplanned way that my life looks today, how it looks lately. Let's get to what I'm doing today. I wanted to kind of just, I don't know, it feels good to get that out. It feels like the secret that I've had somehow. I don't know. So I'm glad to share that with you. And what I am really here to do today in my van, I say that like I don't step foot in here. Of course I still am in here. My stuff's in here. This is my commuter, this is my everything. Anyway, but I've stepped in here right now to install this guy. It's a 4K A810, which don't ask me, 70 my dash camera, which I'm pretty excited about because it has some really neat features that I think will be really helpful for me. If you know me at all, you know I'm like almost annoyingly aware of my safety or lack thereof, depending on the mood. I'm excited to be putting a camera on my windshield and hopefully one also on the back window, as long as this cable is long enough, which it's quite long. So I'm gonna install this today. This goes on my windshield and the camera like pivots around here, which is neat, so it can capture a lot of different things. And it has a screen on this side. I'm excited to get this installed. It's one of 2 dash cams that exist with the best in class dash cam sensor, the Sony Starvis 2 IMX678. So let's get this thing installed. So I already read the instruction manual for this, for the install process. It was really straightforward and easy, it seemed. So I think I'm just gonna jump right in. My windshield is like the perfect windshield for this, so it's kind of hard for me to decide because I think I can put it like so many different places without it being in the way at all. This guy optimizes footage quality in terms of exposure, balance, and color accurateness and stability. And it has IQ tuning, which I've never heard of before. It clarifies the space around license plates and such. So it works with a rear or interior camera for wider coverage and better security. I also have a little camera that I'm going to install somewhere. I'm just all about my safety, you know? I feel like adding a camera on here will help deter anyone from breaking in here. At this point in my life, it just feels so inevitable that somebody's gonna break in here, which is sad. But after having my car broken into, which was devastating, and now earlier this year my storage unit, I'm just like, all right, when's the van? When is it gonna be the van? That, and I've had some crazy experiences living in a vehicle. They don't happen often, but when they do happen, to me, they're wild. I have had some wild encounters. Is that where I want this? One of these days I'll make a video about just the crazy encounters I've had with, I was gonna say people, but it's literally just been men while living in my vehicle. You would not believe. Truly, there are some of you, if I ever make that video, undoubtedly, some people will be like, bullshit. There's no way that stuff happened. Maybe I'll make that soon. It's bananas. There's a lot. I'm realizing there's so much about living in my vehicle that I haven't shared, because some of these instances that I'm referring to, I think any average person would have posted about publicly when it happened. But for some reason, I posted about it on Patreon. Like, my members on Patreon know what I'm talking about. Ooh, fun. Okay. Let's plug it in. My God, it's hot in here. This is how easy it is. I'm almost done right now, and I'm very much excited. God, it's hot! I can also hardwire this to my van. I've never done anything like that before, so I'm just gonna settle for this right now, especially since I'm having electrical issues with my van. But at some point, I'll use the included hard wiring system, which is just a wire that, instead of going into my cigarette lighter, funny how we still call it that, it goes into the fuse box. They include a tool so that I can press it into the seams of my dashboard. I'm doing it. Oh, okay. Oh, it's almost fun, actually. Hold on. I'm sweating. All right, I'm really surprised at how easy that just was. I just wanted to make sure that I could get a hang of it before I recorded myself for like 40 minutes trying to get the cable into my dash. And then before I knew it, I was done. So basically I just used this simple little tool to pry open parts of my dash and then shove the cable all the way up to the windshield. It goes all the way up here. So that was super easy. This has been like 5 minutes of install time, maybe. All right, let me get my keys. Right. Oh yeah, baby. Ooh, I'm excited. All right, now I'm gonna install the app This company has some really cool dash cams. All right, let's get started with getting this baby running. I brought a 64 gigabyte SD card for some good memory. Okay. Yes. Oh, what's today? It is 12? Whoa. Oh, this is cool. Okay, this is cool. Record emergency video. And then another sensor detects when there's collision, detects when there's unusual force, and it'll automatically start recording then too. So you see why this had some appeal for me. Cool. Wow, I have live view of the camera. Mobile app is connected. Recording continues. Thanks. Thanks, buddy. I already put the cable all the way to my back window, which I'm amazed it reaches. It like just reaches too. I mean, if I strung it clear across the room, it would absolutely reach. But of course I have it like laced up through here to be more discreet and out of the way. And it actually reaches all the way to the front, which is just wild. So I'm gonna put this back here. This rear camera, little tiny guy, which by the way is pretty perfect for my van because it just goes flush against the window. You can spin it around, but it's perfect the way it is. It has noise elimination, color saturation, and exposure balance. And it has this thing called Smart Guardian Guard Mode. The AI motion detection is supposed to be able to detect suspicious human activity and go into emergency mode and automatically start recording. I wish that I had this for one of my experiences, probably around exactly a year ago, where this, not kidding, grown man was completely nude except for wearing shoes and was like coming at me in my van from behind. I was parked. That's a whole story. So this would have been really cool that day. Let's see if I can look at what it can see. Okay, I'm gonna do a little test drive around the neighboring town, I guess, and see how it looks. So far, it's like great. I'm excited. Okay. What I believe has been going on with my electrical, in case you're wondering, I think I just haven't had enough solar to power everything, so my batteries got drained. There is some like troubleshooting that I could do to see if there's other multiple issues that it could be. Maybe half of the batteries don't have proper connection to the other half, so half of them aren't charging at all. There's like so many different things that it can be when it's electrical issues. But what I think it is, and what I'm testing first and taking my time on, since I don't have to rush right now, is that it's just not enough solar for everything, which I anticipated. I have a DC to DC charger. If you don't know what that is, basically it just charges my batteries from my van rather than solar. So when my van is running, my house battery is charging my, I'll call it garage batteries. I hadn't connected that charger to my van yet for reasons that like I'll spare you the details about, but one of them being I just didn't think I needed to. It seemed like it was enough until recently when my power went out, and maybe all along it hasn't been enough. So I finally connected the DC to DC charger. I did it in a really temporary fashion, and frankly I don't know that that's even operating. It could be, it might be, it also might not be. I haven't tested if it is or not. I'll spare you the details again as to why, just because it's like I don't want to drone on about my electrical issues, but in case you were wondering, it's a nutshell of it. Alright, let's see how this camera performs. I want to see the results right now, but I have to just drive around, and then I'm going to drive around after the sun sets, like when it's completely dark out, and then I'll get the footage from the camera and see how it looks. But I want to know right now. It's a cute little town. It's also powered by the 70 night owl vision, which illuminates darkness and has light glare control. Okay, so I drove around last night and looked at the footage today, and yeah, it does everything that I want it to be doing, capturing my surroundings, which is great. So it feels nice to have that extra security in place, whether it is just a collision or like my millionth creep. I'm gonna have to put together a video of stories of my creep situations. Anyway, it's nice to have this kind of somewhat preventative, it'll probably deter some people, measures in place, and also just to, I don't know, feel more secure if something happens to me. There's like recordings of what went down. I will also have proof of some creepy situations when they inevitably continue to come up. I also have some other things, some other security measures that I'm going to install in my van soon. As soon as I stop being distracted and preoccupied by the other aspects of my life. Which, speaking of, I'm gonna go get back to. I would like to shower and make breakfast and do all those things that I spoke about earlier. It's really nice to have them all in one place. Yeah, I'm looking forward to being more open and comfortable and accepting of what my life looks like today. Whether it's what people expect it to be, or what I expect it to be or want it to be, or if it changes in a few months. Like, who knows? My life is pretty unpredictable. There's really no telling. But yeah, today is just a lot more calm, which is what I've been wanting, and more rooted, which is also what I've been wanting. I've been wanting a circle of friends. I've been wanting relationships that I can count on. Having van life friends it's hard to put words to how valuable that is and how unique that feels and how those connections are, and I love that about them. But those people are all over the place. Like, I can't, just like myself previously, before the last 2 months, it's hard to pin those friends down. You know you'll see each other again, but you have no idea when or where or for how long. Those relationships are great, but I also was needing and am now really enjoying having relationships that I can count on here, locally. I know that I can call or text one of my friends that are within this general vicinity and hang out later that day, you know? And that's something I've always valued and something I've been missing for some time. So, happy to have that back. Anyway, thanks for joining me. That's my update. It feels like it's kind of big news and also not news at all. Maybe I'll just be dramatic in the title for the fun of it. Either way, see you in the next one. It works with a rear or interior camera. Ah! Oh my god, I can't talk. The older I get, the more I mess words up, I swear. I used to talk like a normal person. Okay.